and welcome to the first edition of Essential Finance, a video content series in partnership with BdhSterling focused on providing financial tips for the Australian business and expat community in the UK. I'm Jess Sullivan, the Member Engagement and Project Manager at the Australia-UK Chamber of Commerce. Like many, I've split my life between Australia and the UK for over 14 years now and have a keen personal interest in the development of this discussion series, particularly as an expat with vested financial interests in the UK and back home in Australia. The first of this 6-part video series will provide an overview of what essential finance means, focusing on opportunities the changing economy has provided for the individual. Our valued sponsor for this series is BdhSterling, and they have been a member of the Australia-UK Chamber of Commerce for a number of years and are a key partner for our member network in the market, given their considerable expertise in financial planning. Award winners in their field, they have offices in London, Perth, Sydney, Melbourne and Brisbane, and are specialists in helping UK and Australian residents, just like myself, find financial clarity. Today, I'm joined by Simon Harvey, Group Managing Director and co-founder of BdhSterling. Simon began his career in financial services in the late 90s and has spent the last 17 years working as a financial planner, both in the UK and Australia, while leading the growth of BdhSterling Group. It's wonderful to be able to speak with you today, Simon. Are you able to tell us a little bit about yourself and your role at BdhSterling?
Yeah, thanks for having us, Jessica. As you mentioned, we're a financial planning firm that specialises in helping people who have assets in both the UK and Australia. We're very much a niche business. We are the only chartered financial planning firm that has offices in both jurisdictions. And we've got a number of duly qualified advisors who have made the move between the two countries. I myself, as you mentioned, spent time working in Australia, so understand the issues people face when they're moving between the two places. It's actually a really interesting area to advise in, as you're dealing with two different sets of legislation and how those different sets of legislation interact together. But you're helping people with such a key life transition, which can be really rewarding. And also you can actually add a lot of value because the two systems are so complex. There's mistakes that you can make if you don't plan ahead, but there are also lots of opportunities as well. So we can really help our clients. And we often find our clients are conflicted about where they will end up living longer term. The UK and Australia, two great countries, both with their own pros and cons, but people often have strong links to both, and so we need they need a carefully crafted plan that caters for retiring in either country potentially, and keeping their options open to some degree.
You're not wrong about that complexity, Simon. We need some guidance in this space, most definitely. And on the surface, it may seem to be quite simple, but it certainly is an area where you do need finessed expertise. Diving right in now, what is essential finance? And are you able to provide an overview for us on your take on essential finance?
Yeah, so when we talk to people about financial planning, we sit down with them and try to determine what's really important to them, and define what their goals are. Don't wait until you've got a life-changing situation to try and put a plan in place, because it's in those key transitions in life that people tend to make the biggest financial mistakes that can erode wealth, or they miss opportunities that can create wealth. So having that financial roadmap in place can really help you ensure your financial journey is a smooth one. And the past year has shown us that life presents us with unexpected situations, and that just demonstrates why it's so important to have a strong kind of personal balance sheet that you're able to fall back on should the worst happen.
Most definitely. I think the past year has taught us many lessons, but that preparedness for change, those life intersections and those junctions that we come to, it's particularly pertinent given the experience that we have had over the past year. Further to those initial comments on essential finance, why is planning your finances so important in the long run? It kind of seems to be a real given today that we must be all financially literate, but from your perspective and with your experience, why is it so crucial, particularly for UK and Australian expats or repatriates?
Yeah, I guess, you know, bringing clarity to people's situation and helping them to really define what is important to them can really give them an idea of what is possible, and you know, that life can be exciting, full of adventure. You know, when we speak with clients, you know, we explain that it's important to dream big and then realize what's possible. You know, and we start with dreaming big, and you know, if that doesn't look achievable, we can always pull the plan back a bit. But having that financial plan to understand what options are open to you is so important. So if it's someone starting out on their financial journey, we might be helping them just ensure that they've got those basic fundamental building blocks in place to secure their financial future. So that might be something as simple as ensuring that they've got an emergency fund in liquid assets. Also that they've got adequate insurances in place to protect their family should something happen, or should they lose the ability to work or suffer a critical illness. Having those fundamental kind of building blocks in place can really give you peace of mind, I think. And beyond that, you're then looking at how do you fund for your future, and that's putting investments in place, putting pensions in place, etc., to help to build for the future. And that can all, you know, provide a tremendous amount of peace of mind, and it's obviously really important for people's mental well-being. So when we talk to people about their goals, some people it might be securing financial freedom, not having to work if they want to, or being able to afford to have a home in the UK and Australia, or spend a year travelling, etc. You know, being able to look at their finances and really analyse what's possible. Planning with assets in a single country is hard enough. So for those with assets in both countries, it's even more complex. But I guess that's where we specialise in helping people with the links to the two countries, in helping them develop a plan and really make sure that they, as I said before, that their financial journey is a successful one.
Yeah. So your comment before about the short and long term, where you'll spend your life for large chunks of time, is really pertinent. I think, particularly in the context of our network and our membership base, and having an eye on markets is exactly why we need services such as yours.
Yeah, we see it time and time again with our clients. Often parents have followed their children down to Australia or vice versa, and you've got those family connections that are dragging you back to the UK, but you've made your home in Australia. So it's a really difficult situation that we often see for our clients, and yeah, it's helping them to understand what is and isn't possible, I guess.
Yeah, and putting those really strong foundations in place, I think, is really key. It's a good place to start for anyone. But can you shed any light on the where and the how for our network in regards to that initial phase of financial planning?
Yeah, sure. So after we've defined the client's goals, we'll sit down with them and look at their current assets, current liabilities, but also their income and expenditure. Having positive cash flow is obviously absolutely key, because that's what enables you to start to build assets. So ensuring that you've got positive cash flow. So for most people at the start of their journey, that cash flow will be through their employment income or business income. And then we'll use that positive cash flow to start to accumulate assets. That might be in pension or super or other investments. Over time, you know, we're looking to build assets so that those assets themselves provide cash flow. and eventually clients will get to the stage where they have that financial freedom, where those assets are sufficient to then provide them with an income stream for their lifetime. So that's the journey we go on with clients. And I think it's important to understand wherever you are on that journey, there's a huge amount of value in terms of financial planning and making sure you've got that roadmap in place.
Certainly, it's the long and the short term that we need to consider as well. It's easy enough to see, you know, the next few years down the track, but also that planning for the long term is just as crucial, and putting the right things in place from the get-go can really put you in good stead as you move forward in life and help you achieve your goals too. You've given us much to think about there, Simon, particularly with the economy being pretty volatile and there's so much global uncertainty at the moment. With that in mind, what are your thoughts on how the economy in the UK and Australia and how they'll recover from COVID-19? Obviously, both countries have had different experiences over this past year, but we're keen to hear how the recovery for both regions will impact individuals in particular.
Sure, yeah. I think I saw a number the other day, and it was just staggering that in the year to January 2021, the public sector borrowed £270 billion in the UK. Now, to put that into context, that's 222 billion more than the 12 months prior to that. 70 billion of that went on the furlough scheme alone. So when we had the UK budget very recently, the story behind that budget was debt. So it's the highest in peacetime history. And the government obviously needs to repay that debt. But first, they needed to put a budget in place that was going to help to rebuild the economy. So it was a budget that encouraged that. The government haven't done anything too drastic in terms of looking to raise tax revenue, but they did signal, you know, more challenging times ahead. And they've actually, what they've done is they've frozen tax rates for a number of years. Now that won't impact people immediately, but as the cost of living increases, we'll find that more and more people than ever before will be higher rate taxpayers. And then once you become a higher rate taxpayer, you then find that 40% of your income will be gone in tax. So I think financial planning naturally becomes more interesting to people who are finding themselves become higher rate taxpayers for the first time. There's some really good planning that you can do if you are living in the UK and plan to retire to Australia. For example, if you are a higher rate taxpayer, you can make contributions to a UK pension and receive 40% tax relief on those contributions. And if you transfer that pension fund to Australia for retirement, you can access the entire pension fund tax-free. So that's effectively a 66% return on that contribution because of the difference between the two tax systems. So yeah, I think it's going to be a tough time ahead in terms of paying additional tax, but there are opportunities to mitigate that if you get the right advice.
Fabulous. Thank you very much. It's an optimistic picture that you paint there, and one we can have further confidence in, I think, moving forward. Finally, as we wrap up this first edition in this video series, what's the best way for our member network to get in touch with you and your colleagues at BdhSterling?
Yeah, we can obviously be contacted through our website or by telephone, and we offer a free initial consultation service where we will sit down and have a no obligation chat with people, talk through their situation, identify how we might be able to help them, and then take things from there. But for anyone who has assets in the UK and Australia, you know, we're very well set up to assist.
Magnificent. Thank you so much for that, Simon. And we'll be sure to include details for the website with links along with this video as well. Thank you so much for your time today and for joining me for this discussion. I'm hoping that we can catch up again soon in person, but until then, stay safe and stay well, and we'll have the next edition of this video series coming out at the close of April, and we'll be focusing on savings and assets, growing your wealth, with your colleague Stephen Ford. But for now, thank you very much, and we'll be in touch.
Thanks, Jessica.